Hi friend, are you wondering who the heck is going to pick up your book once you've written it? If so, this video is for you. I want to help you figure out who your ideal reader is, and I've got some really practical advice for you coming right up. My name is Kelly Notaras, and I am the founder of KN Literary Arts. We are a full-service book studio helping you get from wherever you are now to having a book in the world. Visit us at knliterary.com. I've also been a book editor for over 22 years, and I share with you a lot of my wisdom that I've gathered in that time right here on this YouTube channel. So please hit the subscribe button and click the little bell icon so you never miss a video. So I'll say, if you're struggling to figure out who the heck is going to read your book once you're done writing it, you are not alone. I would say most of the authors that I work with are a little fuzzy on who it is that's going to be the reader for their book. And that's why I love teaching about finding your ideal reader. We call your ideal reader the person who you would most like to be reading your book and the person you're thinking about every step of the way as you're writing your book, which may already sound strange to you. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to be thinking about this person. But yes, please, you're writing something that, although I will say some people are writing a book more for themselves, for their children, for their family, legacy, for your heart or your art, that is fine. You guys are writing for what I call the local market. You don't need so much to think about your ideal reader. But if you're looking for the open market, i.e. people who've never heard of you before, for whom you are not, don't hold any special status, they're not going to pick up the book just because you're you. They're picking up the book because there's something there that they want, right? So if you're not thinking about them and what they want and what they need and what they expect and what they are going to be looking for and what's going to make them put the book down, then you are setting yourself up to potentially put a ton of time, energy, and effort into getting the book in the world and then find you don't have readers for it, okay? So I'm going to give you some very practical tips on how to choose an ideal reader, how to find them, how to do some research around them. First and foremost, I always say, I want you to pick someone that you already know and care about, who you think would love this book. Now, I'm not saying who you think needs this book. Okay? Because who you think needs the book is probably never going to pick up the book. Your husband is never going to pick up the book. I'm sorry. Your teenage daughter is never going to pick up the book. I mean, maybe they will, but I'm saying they're not the right reader for the book. The reader for the book is someone who already on their own knows that they want this book, whether they are, a fan of that particular genre of fiction that you're writing, or, if you're writing a children's book, if they're a parent who, really loves this particular style of picture book or these topics. For example, I have a friend who wants to teach meditation to her 3-year-old. So I know she would pick up a book that was about, if I wanted to write a children's book about meditation, I know she would be the ideal buyer for it. Her daughter would be the ideal reader, or hopefully, but she would be the ideal buyer for it, right? So you're looking for someone who already has an interest. And when it comes to self-help and personal growth, what you're looking for is someone who has a problem that your book is going to solve. So they are struggling, they know they're struggling, they know there has to be a solution out there, and they're open to the idea that it might come through books. So for example, I have a friend who may be struggling with who knows how many issues, but he will never read a book. Reading a book is not something that's ever going to happen for him. He's not even going to listen to it. He's not even going to do an audiobook. He is not a book reader. So I'm not going to make him my ideal reader for my book. I want someone who's very likely to pick up the book. All right? So you're choosing someone in your life who you think would, of their own volition, pick up your book, and then you're keeping them close to your heart as you're writing the book. You might have a picture of them on your desk. You might make a collage that actually reminds you of them, of the colors that they like and the foods that they like and where they hang out and what their pastimes are, and do they like cute dogs? Are they more of a cute dog person or a kitten person? So that you sort of just get that sense you're sitting in the writing process with that person next to you, so that you can when you get to a point where you're not sure if you should go left or right, they're riding shotgun, they're like, hey, you should really go left. You're like, you're right. You need me to go left. Now, the next practical piece of advice I want to say is that if you are writing a book that's practical, meaning something that's meant to teach someone something, whether it's to help them through a crisis or teach them how to do something they've always wanted to learn how to do, I highly recommend you teach them in advance. So you actually create some sort of a workshop based off of the outline for your book, and you teach it, and you see who comes. Who are those people who seek out the learning that you have to offer? And then you get to interact with them in real time, and you get to see how your process that you're offering them or the information you're offering them actually lands with them. And you get their success stories when they do, they do great things things based on working with you. So teaching people in advance, I mean, really, honestly, that's the pro tip of this video, if you can do that. Now, if you're writing fiction, of course, that's not going to be you. And if you're writing a children's book, you could actually, go to your local, elementary school or something and ask, hey, is it possible for me to come into the library one day and present my book and see what the kids have to say? So you can do it that way. It's basically setting up a beta group of some sort of the ultimate ideal reader that you want to be reading your book. Okay, and the third pro tip is that as you're planning out the outline for the book, I want you to be thinking about the progression of that person's thoughts and emotions. So sure, you've got your story as you're planning it over here. And if you're writing a memoir, your story theoretically is already kind of set in stone because it's what's happened to you. But you could never in a million years include every single moment of your life. And you could never include every single scene of your novel that you could come up with, right? Things have to happen off the page. What needs to be on the page is only what your ideal reader wants and needs. This also goes for practical nonfiction. You don't need to include every single thing you've ever learned about a topic. I've got a girlfriend who has created this amazing system for helping people figure out what they want to do with their career. And she has done so much research. I mean, so much. Her book could be 500 pages long. But the ideal reader for her book doesn't want a 500-page book. They're a busy person in the working world. They want something they can read really quickly. She needs to really tailor it down to just a very basic step-by-step process. So when you're thinking about how long your book is, when you're thinking about where it's set, if you're writing fiction, or you're thinking about which era of your life to focus on when you're writing a memoir, or which steps you're going to include if you're writing some sort of a step-by-step practical nonfiction book, you're asking yourself, what does this person want and need? What would they want to see first? What would they need to see next to understand? What would they need to see next? And anything that does not absolutely need to be there for them to get whatever the benefit is of reading your book, whether it's this kind of edge of your seat entertainment if you're writing fiction, or it's a step-by-step process that actually bears fruit in some way on the other end. If it does not need to be in there to get that benefit, it should not be in the book. If you want more information about how to choose your ideal reader, I highly recommend my own book, The Book You Were Born to Write. It really does go into deep detail around how to choose your ideal reader and who that should be. So go ahead and check that out. You can also visit knliterary.com to talk to one of our editorial matchmakers who can tell you more about what it might be like to work with a book coach on figuring out who your ideal reader is. So with that, I will leave you and say, I am so proud of you that you are taking this step. You took the time to watch this very important video. Most authors will not think about their ideal reader before they're writing their first book, and it is at their peril. So good job being here. Best to you and happy writing.